Hello everyone. Today I've brought you an amazing movie called Bullet Train. This film, released in 2022, is packed with thrilling action. The entire story takes place inside a single train, and that train is none other than the famous Bullet Train. So let's dive right in and explore this suspense-filled movie explanation. So at the beginning of the movie, we see a father named Yuichi standing inside the hospital cabin, where his young son lies on the bed. Just then, Yuichi's own father, known as the Elder, enters the room. Yuichi asks him if there's any new update. From their conversation, we understand that the little boy was pushed off a building by someone. Since then, Yuichi has been desperately searching for the person who attacked his son. Meanwhile, we're introduced to a professional assassin named Ladybug, walking through the streets of Japan. He's on the phone with another mafia killer, Maria, who gives him a new mission: steal a briefcase from a train. But recently, Ladybug hasn't had much luck. No matter what mission he takes, something always goes wrong. That's why he thanks Maria for suddenly assigning him this job. A few moments later, Ladybug boards the train where his mission is about to begin. He thought it would be a simple task, just grab the money-filled briefcase and get off at the next station. But how easy this mission really is? Well, we're about to find out. At the same time, Yuichi also boards the very same train, still searching for the person who attacked his son. But he's not the only one. Two assassins, Lemon and Tangerine, are also on board with a mission of their own: to deliver a young man, codenamed the Son, to the Yakuza boss, White Death. Yuichi, however, runs into a girl who looks innocent and sweet. She calls herself the Prince, but it's all a trap. She tricks him and knocks him unconscious. On the other side, Ladybug manages to find the briefcase with no trouble at all, but he feels it was way too easy. Maria reassures him that this really is a simple mission, and tells him to just get off at the next station. Meanwhile, the son wakes up, only to be told by Lemon and Tangerine that they were sent by his father to clean up the mess he caused. The two assassins even start arguing with each other about how many people they had to kill to bring him back. Was it 16 or 17? Finally, when they tried to recall the incident properly, they realized that actually 17 people had died, because even an innocent man, who came to see the injured ones, was also killed. Anyway, after finishing their story, Lemon goes to take the money-filled briefcase, but it's no longer where they kept it, because, as we already know, the briefcase they are searching for has already been stolen by Ladybug. When the train stops at the next station, Ladybug prepares to get off, but suddenly another killer named the Wolf shows up and attacks him out of nowhere. Meanwhile, Yuichi regains consciousness and gets extremely furious at Prince, who is sitting beside him, but Prince warns him beforehand, saying that one of her men is keeping an eye on Yuichi's son at the hospital. If anything happens to her, that man will also kill his son. On the other hand, Lemon and Tangerine get worried, because if they fail to deliver the briefcase to White Death, their fate will be terrible. While thinking about this, they start telling the backstory of White Death. Interestingly, White Death wasn't originally a member of the Yakuza. He was just an angry man who kept killing all the high-ranking mafia bosses. And eventually, after eliminating everyone, he himself became the boss. Meanwhile, Prince reveals to Yuichi that she has another plan, and that plan is for Yuichi to kill her boss. Then we come to know that her boss is none other than White Death himself. Later, when Lemon and Tangerine reach the sun, they discover that someone has already killed him. Seeing this makes things even worse for both of them. The scene then shifts back to 26 years ago, where we learn the story of the Wolf. He became a professional killer, but once fell in love with a woman. Eventually, they decided to get married. But on their wedding day, someone poisoned all the food at the ceremony. Because of that, everyone present died, including the Wolf's wife. And guess who was working as a waiter at that wedding? It was Ladybug. So, the Wolf assumes that Ladybug was the one behind it, and since then he has been hunting for Ladybug to take revenge. As soon as the Wolf enters the train and spots Ladybug, he immediately recognizes him. The Wolf attacks and stabs him, but luckily Ladybug survives because the knife strikes his phone instead. A fierce struggle breaks out between them. At one point, the Wolf stabs again, but this time the knife gets stuck in the briefcase and bounces back, stabbing the Wolf himself. And just like that, the Wolf dies right there. At the next station, while trying to get off, Ladybug accidentally falls right in front of Lemon, who was guarding the door with a gun in his hand. When the train starts moving again, Tangerine begins searching for Ladybug, but at that very moment, Ladybug sits down at a table with Lemon. Ladybug secretly keeps a gun pointed at Lemon under the table, recalling how Lemon once shot him twice when he was in Japan. But by sheer luck, Ladybug survived back then. Meanwhile, Prince manages to find the briefcase hidden inside a drawer where Ladybug had kept it earlier. At the same time, Ladybug makes a deal with Lemon. He'll return the briefcase and, in exchange, they'll let him leave the train safely. But during the conversation, a misunderstanding arises. Lemon brings up the boy who was killed. Ladybug thinks Lemon is talking about the wolf, so he apologizes, saying it was just an accident. But actually, Lemon was talking about the son's death. Eventually, things escalate, and the two end up fighting. Ladybug manages to knock Lemon unconscious, and then secretly mixes a sleeping drug into Lemon's water bottle, so that even when Lemon regains consciousness later, he'll pass out again after drinking it. A little later, Tangerine finds his friend asleep, realizes something suspicious, and starts chasing after Ladybug, but Ladybug had already locked a door to block him. Still, Tangerine doesn't give up. He shoots the door open and continues the chase. Meanwhile, Prince takes Yuichi to the bathroom in the train's first-class compartment and forces him to try opening the briefcase. At the same time, Tangerine and Lemon receive a phone call from White Death himself. He orders them to get off at the next station because he wants to personally check whether his son is safe or not. Having no other choice, Tangerine gets off the train alone and manages to trick White Death's men at the station. He confidently assures them that everything is fine and promises that, as planned, he will deliver the briefcase safely to Kyoto Station. Back inside, Ladybug had been hiding in the bathroom, while Yuichi finally unlocks the briefcase. That's when Prince enters and secretly plants a bomb inside it, so that whoever opens it next will be blown up. She also reveals that her gun is wired with the same mechanism, meaning the moment anyone pulls the trigger, the weapon itself will explode. Just then, Tangerine tracks Ladybug down inside the bathroom, and another intense fight breaks out between them. In the middle of the fight, a Japanese train attendant suddenly shows up. To avoid suspicion, they quickly stop fighting, and Ladybug pretends to buy a bottle of sparkling water from her. But since Ladybug doesn't have any money, Tangerine pays for it instead. The moment the attendant leaves, their fight resumes immediately. Ladybug tries to explain to Tangerine that he isn't really a killer, but Tangerine refuses to believe him. Right then, Tangerine receives another phone call from White Death's men. This time, they demand to see Lemon, Tangerine, and the briefcase all together. But since they don't actually have Lemon with them, Ladybug disguises himself as Lemon and shows up in front of White Death's men. To make things worse, they also bring along the wrong briefcase. When it's opened, everyone sees that it only contains some clothes. Meanwhile, Lemon crosses paths with Prince and Yuichi. He asks them if they've seen anyone carrying a silver-colored briefcase. While talking, Lemon unknowingly drinks the water bottle that Ladybug had spiked with sleeping pills. But at the same time, he also realizes something. Prince knows far more about the briefcase than she's pretending to. Back on the other side, Ladybug tries to get off at the next station, but Tangerine refuses to let him leave. Just as the train doors are about to close, Ladybug kicks Tangerine off the train. Tangerine runs desperately and manages to climb back on again. At the same time, Lemon shoots Yuichi and hides him inside the bathroom, but then he realizes that Prince has managed to slip away right under his nose. When he finally catches her and is about to shoot, the sleeping pills suddenly kick in, and he collapses on the spot. Prince then takes his gun and cold-bloodedly shoots Lemon twice. Then the story flashes back a few minutes earlier, where we see another assassin, Hornet, disguised inside a giant mascot costume. She was actually the one who killed White Death's son using poison. In fact, she's the same killer who poisoned everyone at the wolf's wedding years ago. Back in the present, Ladybug suddenly comes face to face with Hornet, and a fierce fight breaks out between them. In the middle of their fight, a deadly snake escapes onto the train, and both of them get bitten. The venom is so powerful that they have only 30 seconds to inject the antidote and survive. Hornet has only one antidote syringe, but Ladybug cleverly tricks her, snatches it, and injects himself. While Ladybug survives, Hornet fails to get the antidote in time and dies. Meanwhile, Tangerine discovers Lemon's dead body, which fills him with rage. Right then, he gets a phone call from White Death. White Death tells him that he already knows everything and warns Tangerine that he'll be waiting for in Kyoto, only to kill him once he arrives. After that, Tangerine confronts Prince and quickly realizes that something is suspicious about her. So, he points his gun at her, but at that very moment, Ladybug walks in. Prince immediately acts innocent and pretends as if Tangerine was threatening her. Believing this, Ladybug tries to protect Prince and ends up fighting with Tangerine. During the intense fight, Tangerine's gun accidentally goes off, and the bullet hits him instead. Sadly, Tangerine dies right there. Ladybug then decides to get Prince off the train at the next station. But since Prince doesn't actually want to leave, she pretends that her bag is stuck in the train door. Because of that, neither of them manages to get off, and the train continues its journey. At this station, Yuichi's father, the elder, board the train. Prince immediately tells him that Yuichi is dead and warns that her man at the hospital will also kill Yuichi's son. But right then, the elder calmly reveals that he had already killed her hired thug long ago, and Yuichi's son is completely safe now. Enraged, Prince declares that she will kill White Death herself and storms off. After she leaves, the elder sits with Ladybug and begins telling his own story. He reveals that he too was once a member of the Yakuza, but one day White Death rose to power, slaughtered his entire family, including his wife, and took everything from him. Now, the elder knows White Death is waiting for them in Kyoto, and he is determined to end everything there. Soon after, they discover Yuichi and Lemon alive inside the restroom. Yuichi had only taken a single bullet, while Lemon survived completely unharmed because he was wearing a bulletproof vest. After everything that has happened, everyone begins blaming one another in anger. But the elder stops them and makes it clear, either they fight White Death together, or they'll die one by one. When the train finally arrives in Kyoto, White Death boards it. Inside, Prince is already waiting for him with a gun, and this is when the truth is revealed. Prince is actually White Death's daughter. She hates her father deeply because he never cared for her, always obsessed with his own ambitions instead. She points the gun at him, but White Death easily takes it away. What he doesn't realize is that this is exactly what Prince wanted. Earlier, she had planted a bomb inside the gun, so the moment White Death pulls the trigger, it will explode in his face. Even though White Death points a gun at his daughter, he doesn't shoot her. Instead, he simply walks past her and moves forward. Meanwhile, Ladybug hands over the briefcase and keeps wondering if it's just a coincidence that so many killers ended up on the same train on the same day, or if someone actually planned all this. Right then, White Death reveals that everything happening on this train was part of his plan. He was the one who brought all the assassins together in one place. He then explains that his wife was in a car accident and was rushed to the hospital for surgery. But before the operation, Hornet killed her. The so-called accident wasn't an accident at all. It was a planned attack intended to kill White Death himself. The attackers thought he would be inside that car, but unfortunately, it was his wife instead. This whole mission was originally planned by a killer named Carver, and Carver was supposed to be the one on this job. But when Carver suddenly fell sick, Maria assigned Ladybug to take his place. This is why White Death didn't find Carver on the train. So White Death gathered everyone on the train who was in some way responsible for his wife's death. At that moment, his men open the briefcase, which had a bomb planted inside, and it explodes. Amid the chaos, the killers regroup inside the train. Lemon manages to restart the train, but White Death and his men also board it, leading to a series of fights in different compartments. White Death himself faces off against the elder. Outside, Lemon ambushes a Yakuza thug and jumps off the moving train, while inside, White Death plays Russian roulette with the elder. The elder is almost killed, but at the last moment, his son saves him. However, the train keeps speeding down the wrong track and eventually crashes violently into a forest. And then, everyone gets thrown out of the train. Ladybug finally comes out of the train, but surprisingly, White Death also survives and still has a gun in his hand. He fires at Ladybug, but luckily the gun is empty. Soon after, Yuichi and the elder also come out of the train, and together they finally shoot and kill White Death. But just when it seems everything is over, the prince appears with a machine gun and starts threatening them. Fortunately, Lemon drives a truck right over her, ending her once and for all. In the end, Ladybug's handler arrives and takes him away, while the Japanese police also reach the scene. And with that, this thrilling, action-packed movie finally comes to an end. I hope you guys also enjoyed the movie. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.